Hey, what it is, what it be, what it do, YouTube. Sam the Man here to save the day. Hey, yeah. Look, today I have a real special video, as you read by the title. I'm going to be revealing everything I learned streaming every day in the month of August 2025. And so, I'm going to keep it, short, try and get to the point, but give you a little backstory. And once again, if you fuck with the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that type of stuff. And you're gonna see the journey as we come up and as we keep going. But let me just, get to my topic of the video. But everything I learned streaming for 37 days straight and counting, because we still in September, we still going. Before this, I've had no experience like streaming really at a like consistent level. I started out streaming on Twitch for a little bit, but something in me was telling me to, try the kick thing out. And, ever since, I had that idea, and I'm in a mentor group, and they were like, oh, we're going to be posting every day in August. And so I was just like, okay, now's the time, and I'm gonna hop in. And it revealed a lot to me, and I've learned a lot of things that I think are valuable and important. So I wanted to share this in a video, hopefully to help benefit somebody who's on the same purpose and the same journey. And I always grew up watching YouTube, watching streamers. I remember when Twitch first came out, and I've always had an interest and a passion to do this. So me jumping in the field and learning a lot of things that I think are valuable to share and to give to other people, kind of compelled me to make this video. So I have some notes here. I have 5 things highlighted, that really, I learned and, was of value to me to get to the stage where I am, streaming and doing this whole thing and, live on Kick every day. And so, the first thing I want to say is having faith. The one thing I had to realize is that nothing of importance is ever done, or nothing new and impactful is ever done without having the faith that it's possible. If you're trying to do something exponential or something that's never been done before, right? You got to be willing to get into the mindset and have the faith that even though other people might not understand what it is, even though you might not even see the results of what you think is the great idea, you still have the faith that it's going to work. You're going to put in the work for it, and show up every day for it. Because the thing that I learned, as far as the faith over fear thing, was that me, I'm more of a laid back, chill kind of person. I don't like to be the center of attention. I'm tall, I already attract a lot of attention and stuff like that. That's just not my personality, but I do have a passion for this. So it was just me getting out of the way of myself, and just getting over the fear of exposing myself to the people. Because the thing about YouTube and content and all this type of stuff is that, yeah, there's trends and gimmicks and topics or whatever the case may be, but if you want real success and you really want to thrive and do well in this space, you have to be personable, you have to be relatable. And for some people, that's very hard to allow people to see the deepest vulnerabilities of them and just be real and authentic on a camera. And so I was never comfortable with that. I don't post a lot on social media before this. I don't post a lot of pictures, whatever the case may be. Like I said, I'm more low key. But as I consistently do it and do it more, it just becomes more natural. It feels more normal to me, and it's not really too much of a big deal there. But you have to have the faith that is going to work first, and have the bravery, I guess, to get over to any fears or anything that's holding you back negative as far as thought wise, from pursuing it. You need to quiet those thoughts, because just the same way you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what will happen. And so you have to get over that fear in order to be successful in any endeavor. And a lot of parallels that in this video I'm going to talk about doesn't have to particularly just have to do with streaming, just life stuff in general that is valuable lessons that I've learned, that I've applied to streaming every day in this content. And I've seen a massive amounts of growth within myself and within my social medias and my channels as well. Even though it's only a month and we're still starting out, it's not a lot of motion yet, but I'm confident there will be. Number 2, the most important thing: consistency and discipline. Be obsessed with the progress. So the one thing for me, coming into this content and this YouTube and everything like that, the most important thing right now as far as streaming wise, and that I learned about streaming, is clips. Clips is king, is the most important thing. So I react to content on my streams, I react to music on my streams, I play the game on my streams, and all the best moments I try and go back through every VOD after I stream it the next morning and just pick out the clips that of stuff that I would watch. The other thing about clips too is, like, you got to think about content that you would watch, and you kind of have to follow suit in a way. Not saying that you have to copy anybody, but if I see something's trending, I'm gonna be on top of that. I'm gonna clip it and have a genuine reaction. I'm not gonna force nothing, but And those, I post on my TikTok, which is, down on the screen right there below, if y'all want to check that out, because, I've seen a lot of growth on there. And honestly and truthfully, a lot of my support and people who, really, will interact with you coming up and, fuck with you just for putting in the effort is on TikTok, bro. Because I feel like people scroll through a lot of people every day, and they like seeing someone else that's in the same position as them, or someone, that seems like more like that, a down to earth person, and just doing things that they want to do. So I definitely get a lot more love on TikTok. You definitely should check that out. All the clips and the best moments and the funniest moments from the streams are on there. But as far as being consistent with that, is that I'm trying to post 2 times. Well, not even trying to. I've been posting 2 times, during the weekdays, and once on weekends on TikTok. I'm posting the same content on Instagram Reels, and since the beginning of my streaming, and like I said, numbers is relative to people, but it's only been a month, and on Instagram I've done 50K views in a month, and I've 22 followers on Kick right now, and almost 2K likes on TikTok, and lots more views. I have a couple of videos that have hit 2K plus, whatever the case may be. A couple of videos last month. My highest view video on Instagram was a clip of me reacting to Drewski, Could Have Been House, and it was like 15K. So that was like the most, but I've had a couple 10K, a couple, big reels, and, you don't know which is going to pop off on Instagram or on TikTok. So you want to post on both, be consistent, don't miss days. Same thing with the stream. I've streamed every day since August 1st, of this year. So I don't miss a day. There's a lot of things going on in my life. I work just like anybody else. I want to have a social life. I want to do this, that, and the third. And I was doing boxing before I really, committed to streaming every day. But you just have to be obsessed with the growth and the progress, little by little. Every day I see something improve. I get a like, I get a support, I get a comment, or I get a repost, from people we watching the content, and just, it all becomes tangible, and, all the little steps, add up to something bigger, and it's definitely worth it. So definitely consistency, and one is discipline as well. It's like, once I said, you're gonna have things that you want to do in place of it, right? But if you have the discipline to stay down and show up every day, because once again, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I have seen a lot of people that I know personally that have started out before me, or might have a lot more progress and motion than me right now at the moment. But I know if I stay here every day and I become obsessed with it, the days that they take off and the days that I'm here is going to prepare me and propel me forward. And especially nowadays in streaming and content and everything like that, because you gotta understand, people who already amassed the following and support, they're uploading every day, they're staying consistent. That's how they stay relevant and stay in the news and stay in the topics and everything like that. So you gotta play the role of where you want to be and where you want to end up. So you gotta start that now. You gotta grind and be dedicated and not miss days like you're already a top streamer. And that's kind of how I've been trying to carry it and approach it, as far as the streams, and as well even making YouTube videos right now. Like, if you check my channel before this, I was uploading a video once a month when I feel like it, if I felt like it. And now I'm gonna try and make the consistent effort to at least upload on YouTube once a week, do a talking video, a good reaction, or something that's definitely going up on the channel to keep the numbers going up. And they might not be big right now, but they are going to get there with consistency and discipline over time. You will see the results, and that's definitely a key that I've learned, trying to do this for a month straight. Number 3, be you. And so I guess this kind of ties into like the faith over fear thing as well. But the one thing that I'll say is, it's not that I've never not been myself. And I'm sure a lot of you have no issues or think that there's anything wrong with the way that you are. For me, it was putting myself on the internet and out there, open to criticism and things of that nature, whatever the case may be. And once again, in real life, if you said something to me and I didn't care about it, I wouldn't really care. But it's just a different level of just, I guess, vulnerability and just openness you have to just portray and just, be yourself and project your personality like online. And so, even streaming every day, whether I had a few viewers in there or I had barely anybody in the streams, at least, knowing someone was in there watching and I'm just being me, being comfortable, and, they're still there to support, and, they're, engaging with the content and everything like that, just, kind of puts you at ease. Like, okay, like, you can kind of chill. It's not that I was trying to put on the act, but you do something new you think is going to play out one way, but, as you get comfortable in something, you just realize you just, flow with it. It becomes more and more you. So I need to stress that enough. And what you call it in the notes here, I say, It's your greatest asset. Yeah, because the thing about streaming content, everything like that, is especially nowadays, everyone wants to do this. Everyone wants to be on this. Everyone wants a piece of this content. So I get it, right? Because I wouldn't be here doing this if I wasn't interested and if I didn't feel the same way. But the thing about it is, the greatest asset that you have is you. If you think about it, there's no one else in the world that can be you better than you can be you. And especially in live streaming and content, I know it's a lot of eye roll and people doing a lot of crazy stuff for clout, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, if you are you authentically and genuinely, real will recognize real. You feel me? So at the end of the day, I'm gonna just be myself. I know people mess with me in real life, and why not put that and broadcast myself, to the internet, try and help some people try to have fun and do all these things into one, big, kind of, event, as far as the streaming and everything like that. So be you. It's your greatest asset. That's what I've learned. And once again, putting yourself out there on an internet is kind of odd sometimes, and it is going to take some getting used to. But for me, doing it every day and still doing it every day, I've been getting more and more just detached from the results of what it is and just putting it out there. And a lot of things have been working out for me. So I definitely say keep that mindset. A big thing that I would say too that helped me as far as that is a change of environment. It's not that I ever really changed who I was, is I changed the environments I was around. Before this, I was in college last year in Philly at Temple, going to classes, not really caring, going out partying, going to the club, doing this, that, and the third, and hanging out with shorties, whatever the case may be, just completely unfocused. But moving to Orlando and having the time to myself to really sit and think like what I want to do and what I want to get up to and what do I want to pursue. And I really sat here by myself. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have a social life. I didn't have anything to go to, just work in this. And so slowly but surely, I put in, the research and the hours and the grind to, build this up, with my hands and with my ingenuity, and just really just come forward. And, it allowed me to, elevate by isolating myself and becoming, a more freer version, I guess, of myself. Because sometimes the environment that you're around does kind of put a shroud on what you got going on. So just moving out for me and coming here and having all the time to myself allowed me to grow into, I guess, a better version of myself that I can then project. And after learned experiences and taking L's and winning, whatever case may be, and trying things out, I can sit here and tell you that being you authentically is what's going to set you apart, as as far as content and streaming as well. That's the biggest thing you could possibly do, and that's what I've been getting a lot of love for. And like I said, bro, it's things that I didn't even expect. I just throw out a video that I didn't think twice about, and people say, yo, that's mad funny, I agree with you, this, that, and the third. They engage with it, they like it, they go back and forth with you. And so like I said, bro, you be yourself and people will find you. Number 4, the biggest thing I'd probably say is mindset, but the biggest thing is to educate yourself. There's a lot of people that have the drive and the passion to do something, right? But if you don't have a game plan, there's no point of it's just all fairy tales at that point, is the best way I could say it. So when I say educate yourself, I'm gonna put you onto 3 books that helped me personally. The first one I say is the Bible first and foremost. And I know a lot of people might not be religious, it might not be Christians, you might have your own religion, and that's fine. I'm accepting of other people as well. I'm just gonna only talk about my personal relationship. And the Bible, I feel like, has a lot of wisdom. It tells you how to live apart from the world. And the one thing that I realize is wisdom is wisdom regardless of the source that it comes from. And as I get an ESPN notification, but wisdom doesn't matter where it comes from. You feel me? So as far as from the Bible, I gain a lot of spiritual insight. I feel like, I try to apply the things that I read in there into my life as best I can. Once again, I'm not no saint. I'm not perfect. I still sin. I still mess up. I still, cuss and do all that type of stuff. I'm just a regular person. But as far as, being dedicated to, a new, eventual, hopefully, career path for me, you got to have that wisdom and have that base and, pray about things. And just the wisdom in the Bible, that's one, as far as education. 2, right, the next book that I recommend you read that I heard on a podcast, and I took the initiative to listen to it while I was at work, and in the audiobook on Spotify, is Think and Grow Rich. And maybe you've read that book, maybe not, but once I've read that book, it was like a lot of things just clicked in my mindset. And it just goes back to the first point that I made this video with. It's all about faith. Any person in the position that you want to be in life was you at one point. They didn't know what it was. They didn't have anything done. They were new at it. They had no experience, but they knew they had a purpose and a vision for it, and they just took the steps to do it, and they had the faith to do it and get there. And so it's really a mindset thing. And the one thing I feel like is a lost art is reading books. It opens yourself to a new mindset. For me, I grew up reading books. I love to read. I love learning new things. But the thing that was my issue was I was overconfident in a lot of my things. I think certain ways about certain things, and I think that's just how it is. But once I read that book, it just gave a new slight perspective shift for me, and then it clicked, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is go time. So once again, I feel like if you're pursuing anything, whether it be streaming content, anything like that, Think and Grow Rich is definitely a phenomenal book. I recommend that you read, because it opened my mind. And then the second book, just off of reading that book, I read As a Man Thinketh, and really just that kind of just exacerbated to me that anything in life starts with you. The way you think, the way you process, the way you interpret situations, and the way you react and respond, everything is contingent on you. And I know a lot of times in life we feel like life is happening to us. It's nothing that we can really do. It's like events out of our control that kind of shape our reality day to day. But if you really take the other lens of it and just think, even if something out of your control happens to you, the way you perceive it and respond to it is completely up to you. And we may overlook that. We may think that it's not that important, but those are the reprogramming moments in your mind in order to reshape who you are to get to a better and farther destination, higher than you've ever thought before. And that's what I've been experiencing, especially, like I said, getting the knowledge from those two, applying it to me, starting this, and having this interest and this passion to it. And so once those two things aligned, everything just took out for me. Like I said, from August 1st, it clicked. I went streaming every day. I started clipping, started making YouTube videos, started engaging on social media, and the numbers been going up. We've been growing consistently. And now I'm sitting here, recording a long form video that I've always wanted to do, on the webcam, and really talking, to people, and really just getting this right as far as, recording YouTube and taking that step forward and continuing. So that's, the third book that I'd say really helped me. Then outside of reading books, I say just educate yourself on your field. For me, content-wise, what I do is I like to watch a lot of other streamers' clips, see what they're doing. I like to, as far as, how can I upgrade the stream? How can I add a sub count? How can I add transitions? How could I add this, that, and the third, whatever the case may be? All the bells and whistles. How do I have chat? How do I have emojis? All the things that you see other people do in the space, you need to be doing, you need to be on, you need to be researching how to do, so you can add that to your repertoire. And once again, I'm not saying copy it. I always add your own spin to it. But once you see, a consistent theme in streams or in content that everyone is doing, you do want to, try and do your own spin on it, because that's part of the gig. That's part of what's going on here. So once again, study as far as, learn how to improve, the platform and your craft, and also study the field and study, the big people and what you want to do. I mean, for me, I keep saying, as far as streaming and content wise, but once again, I feel like you can apply this to anything in any area of life for real. So, study the field and study the competition. So that would be number 4. And number 5, probably, I feel like the most kind of life altering part of this to me, and biggest, change to me as far as what I've learned streaming every day, for a month straight, 37 days and counting, Kick, SamTheMan 11, we probably live as you watching this video right now, so you go check that out. But is be delusional. And I always think of myself as a logical person. Like I was telling you, I was going to school. I was in Temple. I was a legal studies major. I've always been that kid that reads books, is very analytical, very logical. That's been my archetype. You feel me? And so as for me growing up and living my life that way, to sit here and be telling y'all the key to, winning in life, the key to, being successful in content, and, the biggest thing that I've learned starting this journey is to be delusional. And I'm going to double down and tell you that, bro. That's the most important thing, because the way that I'm carrying myself right now is that you have to be delusional to the point that you already live the success that you want to attain, right? You have to be delusional in that standpoint. The way I mean, and an example of that is I have a 2022 Chevy Malibu, but when I get in and out of that, I picture myself in that Lamborghini on the wall back there. You feel me? The same way how I carry myself and I move in my day-to-day life, I know that, I might be working, I might, have to build this up right now, but I know the moment that I come home, I'm grinding on clips and on the stream and on everything that I want to do and go forward, and I'm already living that side of the life. The work part doesn't phase me no more. This is just, just smoke and mirrors right now. I know the real life that I'm living is already happening behind the scenes. And the biggest, part too about being delusional as well is that, you almost have to become a new person in a way. And once again, it's not that, any of my morals or my ethics change or how I behave or how I interact with people has changed. It's not none of that. As far as, as far as mindset and the things you used to tell yourself, you have to tell yourself the opposite. The days where you tell yourself you can't, I can never do this, that, and the third, are days I can't have anymore, because I could wake up, open up my computer and see all the work and all the streams and all the progress and all the videos that I knew there was a point in my life where I didn't think this would ever exist, and I'm looking at it with my eyes. And so you can't have those thoughts anymore. That's not possible, because it's completely possible when you see it and you see it happen. So, you got to shed your old self as far as, bad habits. Like I said, me moving here and isolating myself, I wasn't going out with, friends, partying, drinking, going with girls, going to the club, doing all that bad negative stuff. And I replaced those habits with going to the gym consistently, going to work, coming home and researching something about the stream, reading books, like I said, going outside and playing basketball, to let some steam off. Like, you have to shed old habits. You got to shed your old mindset. You got to, bro, become, a new person and evolve mentally in order to attain things that you don't have already. Like, you feel me? And that's kind of what I had to, realize as well as for myself, is that the old way I was thinking didn't lead me to the life that I wanted to live. So obviously my thinking has to change in order for my life to reflect where I want to go. So you definitely have to do that. Shed your old self, be delusional, think you already live in the success every day, and do the things that person would do. If you were a full-time streamer Sam, or if I was full-time streamer Sam as I'm making this video, wheeling and dealing, doing what I want to do, streaming every day, traveling, going for content, being able to be with my family, this, that, and the third, going to events and doing, everything I see everybody else doing. If I want to be that version of Sam, then I have to do the things that I know it's going to take. And once again, a lot of the times, people, and I guess one of the big things that I've learned too is in more than just a month, in just my lifetime, is that a lot of people say that they want to do things, but a lot of people don't really mean that and don't really say that, because a person's actions will tell you what they really mean. A lot of people in life are going to be average, because that's what average people are, bro. If you want more, if you want to strive for more, and you say you want more, you have to put in the the works that come behind that. And if you don't put in the works, you can't say you really want it. So that's the decision it really comes down to. You gotta be a stepper. And that's the reason, I stress that too, because I had to realize that about myself, is that as much as I doubt myself and, don't think things are possible, whatever the case may be, when I look up and I still see myself putting in the work that everyone else is not putting in, it's like, you know what I'm trying to say? You can't discredit that no more. So, you have to do that. You have to embrace it, step up into that level, become that person that you have to become in order to get the thing, and then you will get the thing. So, these are, kind of the 5 main things and the main points that I've personally learned streaming every day on Kick, 37 days and counting. And so, once again, I'm brand new to streaming, brand new to content, brand new to social media. I got a lot of things coming, whether it be vlogs, whether it be clothes, these 2 shirts I got in the back, is, my clothing that I helped design, and my friend's brand that, he's coming up with. I make music as well. I'm uploading on SoundCloud, whatever the case may be. So definitely, like, comment, subscribe, tap into all the socials, everything you see right here. If you want to keep up with the journey, keep up, following what we got going on, because it's going to be big, bro. I'm telling you right now, I can guarantee it. And this is, going back to the delusional part. Whoever's watching this video right now, I'm telling you, I will be successful. I will be big in this game. I will be a big name in this game, and I'm going to be here to stay. And, like I said, 37 days is nothing to me. This is, the avenue and the purpose that I feel like I've been called for in my life. And I wouldn't be here, any more other way being real to the camera right now, in this moment right now, than saying that. And so, I hope someone gains some value out of anything I talked about right now. Like, comment, subscribe, anything you think, thoughts, comments, conversations that you want to get into the comments. I appreciate the engagement. And, y'all see more of me for sure. But that's just, the topic of the video. We all gonna win. We all gonna eat. Just put in the steps daily. Fuck the other people that's telling you no, that it's not going to work. Listen to yourself above all. And honestly, you know what? Before I get out of here, that is the last thing. That's actually the main thing that I learned. Doing the streaming and doing this content and everything, whether it be my parents, my friends, my family, people I thought was going to support that didn't, and all the people that are, leading me down a life that I never saw for myself. I never saw for myself, listening to a boss for 60 years and being in a cubicle and just, being okay with it and living with debt and all that. Like, I never saw that for myself ever in life. So the main point that I learned is you have to listen to you above anybody else. That dream that you have as a kid, that voice that you have inside, do the things that will make the younger version of you proud. Do the things that you want to do when you want to do them and how you want to do them, because it's your life. You only have one life to live, and no one else can live it for you. No one else goes into that box when you go, under. You feel me? And so the biggest thing that I've learned is follow your heart, follow your voice, follow the things that you want to do. If you have a purpose and a drive to help people, or to do something big that you think is going to impact the world in a positive way, do that thing and listen to yourself. Fuck what anybody else says. So that's the biggest thing I learned streaming every day for the last 37 days and counting on cake. But hey, I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate y'all for watching the video if you made it this far. And, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, put on post notifications if y'all want to see more content. And even if y'all don't, I'm going to be here. You feel me? So that's just how it be. But, I'm going to get up out of here, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. God bless.